as the year kicks in, well, it typically starts with a barrage of advice pieces on what to do with your finances in the year ahead. Corne Welman is a franchise principal and financial advisor at Consult by Momentum, and she's recently shared an interesting article on some of the things we must not do with our money this year. Well, she joins us now via Zoom to shed more light on this by unpacking some of the financial pitfalls to avoid in 2023. A very good morning to you, Corne. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Let's now start with some of the most common financial pitfalls that most people fall prey to at this time of the year.
Well, we all start January with a bang. We come back from our holidays and we've overspent a little bit, as we usually do, over December. I just think this year is a bit different than other years. We've been happy to go on holiday with our family again after COVID and buy everyone gifts. But as you know, the rising cost in South Africa, the living cost in South Africa is horrific. We've all dealt with that the last year, but suddenly it's become a reality. And the problem after December is that we tend to face these debts, but we have extra expenses when the year starts. We have family debt, we have school fees to pay, and then we start to panic. And I think that's what's facing every one of us now is not only do we struggle to pay off the debt that we occurred over December, living costs are so much higher that our budget doesn't work out anymore.
Yeah. And why do you think most of us make these bad financial decisions, knowing very well that there are repercussions?
I think it's human. First of all, I think we should just give ourselves a break. All of us do that. Even financial advisors do that. When it comes to Christmas, I don't know how about you, but the moment I hear jingle bells, we tend to go a little bit overboard and start spending money. Yes. And I think this year was extremely bad for everyone. We really wanted to make up for lost time. COVID made us realize that things can happen in a heartbeat, and we were scared that it's going to happen again with all the threats hanging over our heads. But with the Eskom problem in South Africa, we can't make that mistakes anymore. I think we need to make a behavioral change. Usually we would come back from December and we would start paying off the December debt and carry on with the year. We walked slap bang into load shedding, increasing energy prices, increasing food prices, and suddenly everyone is panicking. So I think and then what people do is you tend to go and use your emergency fund, or you use your savings and you just want to pay off this debt, and get the year started. And that's the big mistake everyone is making now. I see that on a daily basis. People want to withdraw money from their savings or their investments to pay off luxury, or let's call it holiday debt.
Yeah. And you say most of us feel a little bit depressed after the holidays. Let's talk about this. I mean, you've just raised the fact that some people take up loans or some people use up their savings or investment to pay off debt. So how can it lead us into making irrational financial decisions?
Yes, that's a problem. I find that people are depressed at the moment. It's usually January start with a little bit of a positive note. We can do things differently, but everything is just so expensive. I don't know about you, but I hear that on a daily basis. Friends ask me, how do you live? How do you get out of, how do you budget? And if I just look at my own two kids, the other day I thought, how are people raising babies with the living cost? And I think what's important is every time this year, people tell you what to do, save more, do this. And my article was based on what not to do. First is don't panic. Second is go sit and, get over the fact that you are in debt. We are all in debt. We all sit in the same position. And you have to start, if you can't pay off that debt over time, you can just increase more and more and more. And by using your savings and your investments, you're going backwards. So I think that's what's making people depressed, if you ask me, is the fact that we don't have extra money a month because of living expenses and the energy crisis. And now we also have this debt. So what to do now? And I think that's what we're facing at the moment.
That's so profound. That's very profound. I mean, how then do we avoid withdrawing money from our own investments to pay off a holiday indulgence, as it were?
Unfortunately, there's no easy answer here, and there's people want, they ask me that and they want a clear answer, and this is going to take time. You know that little word that we all hate so much, budget. It's now time. You have to go and sit and you have to go see where you can spend less. But unfortunately, as I've said over and over again, the cost of living, it's maybe time to make a big change. Usually you can just say, I'm going to spend a little bit at Woolies, or I'm going to travel less, and you've got extra money per month and you can pay off your debt in 6 months. We don't have that now. We don't have extra cash in our budget. So it's maybe time to look at the bigger things. Do you really need 2 cars in your household? Don't you work from home more? Do you really need the expenses of that extra short-term insurance, extra fuel? Isn't it time to maybe look at the option, if your kids have grown up, to rent out a room in your house? Shouldn't you maybe sell some of your old jewelry that you're not wearing? I know this all sounds, like big decisions, but if you really want to get out of debt and get ahead of this year, because I promise you, this year is not going to be easy when it comes to inflation, food prices, fuel prices. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
So by just sitting and trying to pay off that debt with your monthly income, it's going to be almost impossible unless you can earn a second income. But it's time to make big decisions. It's time to make behavioral decisions and try and get rid of as much debt as you can, because the rest of the year, whatever you have left needs to go into savings, as we do not know where this Eskom crisis is going to take us.
Yeah. And you also say that we must not ignore the power of our retirement savings to reduce tax. Really, Corne? How so? Because we know that tax is one of our many headaches.
Well, it's definitely mine. I don't know about you, but if you get that little SMSs from SARS saying that it's time to pay them, that's when everyone starts to panic. Now, if you go through the year, if you start now, before the end of February, and you put whatever you can, if you can, I don't know, little savings, extra money that you maybe use on luxuries, and put it into your retirement annuity, every single one of that amounts will be a reduction, and you can claim that back from tax at the end of the year. So when it comes to paying the receiver, if you pay provincial tax, then you're going to pay less because you can use your retirement annuity as a tax deduction. If you pay work for a salary and you do pay as you earn, you can actually get that money back. So whatever you save into a retirement annuity, say you save 1,000 Rand a month or 200 Rand a month, whatever your tax rate is, you can claim back from the receiver. He will give you the money back. He will reward you for saving into a retirement annuity.
Okay. That's comforting news. That's really refreshing news. And talk to us now, before I let you go, about the importance of reviewing one's risk portfolio as soon as possible.
Yes, that's one thing. You go to your advisor and you start saving. Let's use an example. You want to save for your children's education while they're 2 years old, and you start saving. Now, you save on a monthly basis, and you may have been advised to put that money directly into a share portfolio or a balanced portfolio. Over the years, these accumulate to a lump sum. It's always time every year you have to review your risk profile. Should that lump sum still be in a high risk portfolio, or maybe do you have to switch it to a balanced portfolio? What about your monthly payments? If you're saving into something like a fixed deposit, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to save in something that will give you a bigger return over time. And the only thing you can do that is by reviewing your risk profile. In other words, where does your money actually go? And how much risk are you taking on your savings?
All right, great stuff. Great chatting to you, Corne. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. Thank you. That was
Bye-bye.
financial advisor Corne Welman, and we've been discussing some of the financial pitfalls to avoid this year.